evening. Hi, Ami. Good evening.
Good evening, Deb.
Hi, how you doing? Hope you had an amazing day. My name is Deborah Onu, and welcome to the Touch Excel show with Tony and the gang. And here with me today is Yomi. Hi, Yomi.
Hey, I'm here. The black to the bone guy is here again. Good evening, Nigeria. Good evening,
Yes,
world. Let's do this again.
it's good to be back here again. And today we'll be talking about antibiotics handle with care.
Yes.
So, Yomi, would you like to introduce our guests and then we'll continue?
All right. Awesome. Awesome. We have two guests here today. Kabir Ayodeji. When I see Kabir, I see success story. I see Sammy. I see the brand Sammy, and I can say, wow, this is what we do. So Kabir Ayodeji is a techpreneur who deals in sales and services of tech products and such as computers, phones, tablets, and all the other gadgets. So Kabir is a sickle cell warrior. Is an advocate. Kabir is a testimony of what Sammy does, and we are so happy to have him for the first time on Touch a Cell Online. Woo! Good evening, Kabir.
Hi, Kabiru.
Yodeji Kabir Olayinka. I am happy to be here. How are you doing?
Oh, fine.
Awesome. We are
Welcome.
doing awesome. All right, our second guest this evening. Whoa, I am awed by the rep the long profile. So I have done myself the honor of reducing that profile so that I won't we won't use this whole show to talk about the profile. Titilope Fashipe, MD, PhD. Can you see what I'm calling it? Is the coordinator of Texas Children's Sickle Cell and Thalassemia Program. She's an assistant professor of pediatrics in and hematology and oncology at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas. Dr. Fashikpe has been repeatedly appointed to sickle cell related advisory committees of the Texas Department of State Health Services, and she currently serves on their newborn screening advisory committee and sickle cell task force. When it comes to sickle cell disease, Dr. Fashikpe has unique perspective of relating to and understanding the need for education, community awareness, support, and medical care, as she is a pediatric hematologist as well as an individual who lives with sickle cell disease. Good evening, Dr. Titilope Fashikpe.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
You're
So good
welcome.
to have you tonight on Touch Cell Online.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
So today
Awesome.
we'll be talking about antibiotics and do we care. The reason we're doing this is because we're celebrating World Antimicrobial Week through from the 18th of November through to the 24th of November is set aside to celebrate anti antibiotics week. So, Yummy,
You want me to shoot right in? All right,
yes.
no
Okay, let
problem.
me add something to that. So the first person that discovered antibiotics is known as Alexander Fleming. So Alexander Fleming is a scientist. In the year 1928, he discovered penicillin at the
Wow,
St. Mary's Hospital, London.
wow, wow. Kudos to Dr. Alexander Fleming. But I'm sure that Alexander Fleming, wherever she's lying on the grave right now, she'll be shaking at what people has done to his invention. All right, Dr.
I'm sure you
Fashikwe,
just be wondering.
let's
He
just
did it
start
also.
with why do we use antibiotics in the first place? Why do we use antibiotics? What can necessitate us to start using antibiotics? Dr. Fashikwe, can we have that from you, that your opening salvo?
Well, thank you for the warm welcome and also for the introduction about the first antibiotic, penicillin. And you know, we live in a world full of things we can see, like ourselves, as well as things we cannot see, which are the microbiome or bacteria, viruses. There's so many things that are at the microscopic level that can cause disease. So most of us term these things infectious diseases. And one type of infectious disease is from bacteria. And so Fleming and others have seen that antibiotics can kill certain types of bacteria in order to prevent infectious disease. And, you know, there's some diseases our bodies can fight and defend perfectly without any help. But unfortunately, there are several diseases that if we don't have help, it can result in damage to our bodies or sadly even death. So that's why antibiotics came on the horizon as a way to save lives and prevent mortality from infection.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much, Dr. Fashikwe. Let me bring Kabir into this. Conversation. Kabir, I'm sure you heard Dr. Fashikwe talked about penicillin. And we understand that penicillin is used by people living with sickle cell a lot. So what I want to hear, did you ever use penicillin?
I've seen because of Lagos ailments or any other ailment based on what microbacteria has caused them. But I have not used it. I just heard about it.
All right, great. Great, that's good, Kabir. Debbie,
Yes.
you have any question for Dr. Fashikwe?
No, you can continue.
Oh, okay. Dr. Fashikwe, Debbie is just in love with this conversation today. Just wants me to keep.
Well, if I may, can I address
Yeah, you can.
what Kabir
Yes, you
said?
can.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I will say that sickle cell disease, people with sickle cell disease, though their immune system functions, there's one part of the immune system that is an Achilles heel, and it is the spleen. So we're all familiar with the spleen. The spleen is supposed to kill certain types of organisms, but unfortunately, the spleen is also distracted by the sickle cells. So sometimes it can, basically the bacteria can bypass the spleen because the spleen is distracted. And sadly, those bacteria, one of the most famous ones is Streptococcus pneumonia, and there's some other ones as well. And we know penicillin can kill Streptococcus pneumonia. So in the recommendations now say that children under the age of 5 should get penicillin because if they have sickle cell,
Okay.
in order to prevent them from catching that infection. And it's not the dose of penicillin to treat infection. It's a dose called prophylaxis or prophylactic dose, almost like malaria prophylaxis. It's a similar concept, except it's to fight Streptococcus from affecting the child with sickle cell disease.
Now, good. Dr. Fashikwe, you mentioned something that is very interesting. Talking about malaria. Nigeria is endemic. Malaria is endemic in Nigeria or in sub-Saharan Africa, like we know. Now, one thing that happens is every time someone is down with sickness in Nigeria, the first thing is malaria, and let me add it. Let me put drama to it. They say you have malaria and typhoid fever. That's where they will combine it. And the next thing they will do is to prescribe antibiotics. Please, are we right? Are we wrong? Tell us.
So the world of antibiotics, and I will include anti-malarial medicine in that world, it's a double-edged sword. There's a good side and there's a bad side. And, and you made me laugh because yes, you enter a hospital in Nigeria. If you have fever, oh yeah, malaria, malaria, malaria. And I'm like, is this really all malaria? Is this really true? Some people don't even have the test. They'll say it's malaria. And if my people, I grew up in Ngomosha, and I think if I'm right, many of us sometimes bypass the doctor. We just go straight to the pharmacy and we go get the medicine on our own. I feel like that's a double-edged practice because it's true. Malaria is bad and bacteria are bad. But if you self-medicate for everything that's fever, you may be over-treating unnecessarily. So there's a bad side and a good side to the antibiotic and anti-malarial conversation. So the good side is when you really have the infection, it's important to kill it. The bad side is not all fever is malaria, not all fever is bacteria. So how do you walk the line and not cause the negative effects?
Okay.
So, Dr. Fashkwe, you would help us to rewind some of those thoughts you shared earlier because we had some technical glitch here earlier. And you know this, we are talking about Nigeria. Yeah, please help us.
Yes. So one, antibiotics and antimalarials are important, but they have a good side and a bad side. The good side is that when you need them, they can help treat your infection and get rid of the infection. And if you have had malaria, or if you have had pneumonia, or if you had a bone infection, something called osteomyelitis, if you've had any of these infections, antibiotics can be life-saving. However, we sometimes overdo with the medicines. Everything, every fever, every little, oh, I have a headache, I have malaria. Oh, my face feels warm, I have malaria. Oh, my arm is hurting me, I have malaria. Everything is not malaria. And so sometimes we take too much medicine and we're not always treating the infection. We're just treating ourselves, our brain, I don't know. We're just treating ourselves. So the good side, let me start with the good side. The good side is that, yes, when you're actually sick with the infection, it's important to fight it with antibiotics. But the bad side is that sometimes we don't know if we fully have the infection, but we get the medicine anyway. And there's a bad side to that because there's something called antibiotic resistance. I don't know if you've heard of that term, but it gets to the point where if your body is exposed to antibiotics, if the bug comes like malaria or bacteria, it gets used to the medicine. So it becomes smart enough to overcome the medicine. That's called resistance. So that's why we should not just go out and get the medicine just anyhow. We should really make sure we have the infection first.
Okay.
Deb,
Yes,
are
you're
you ready
right.
for us now?
Yes. So, Dr. Titilope, you've been managing people with sickle cell for a very long time now. So, what are the complications that will give you the reason to prescribe antibiotics to them?
Okay, that's a great question. And so I will say when Mr. Kabir and I were young children, many of the recommendations for sickle cell did not exist. So when I was small, I did not take antibiotics. I'm assuming Mr. Ayodeji also had the same experience that nobody gave us anything. Um, when we have malaria, they'll give us malaria medicine. But other than that, we didn't really have a sense of how to manage sickle cell disease and infection. I will say in the Western world, United Kingdom and United States of America, we found that if you give young children a prophylactic dose of penicillin between the ages from babies to 5 years old, you can decrease their risk of infection. So the first way I use penicillin in children with sickle cell disease is the ages 0 to 5. So that's number one. The second time I'll use antibiotics with anybody with sickle cell disease, no matter how old you are, when you have fever, I do want to make sure it's not something that will become dangerous. So for us, if you have a fever that is 39 Celsius, 39 centigrade, it could potentially be a bacteria. And because we don't know, we're going to give you one dose of a powerful antibiotic. It's called ceftriaxone. I don't know. I think they have it in Nigeria too. Ceftriaxone. It can be injected. That medicine can kill anything while we wait to figure out, do you actually have the bacteria? If you don't have the medicine, we won't give you any more medicine, antibiotic, if you don't have the infection. But if we see that you have the infection, then we'll give you more days of the medicine. So that way, we're careful. We're not giving you too much in order to cause resistance. We're just giving you a preventive dose just in case. And then we'll find out from your blood work whether you actually have the infection. I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So one way we use it is prevention, and the other way.
So, but what if that person has some sickle cell complications? Probably leg ulcer or anything thereabouts. Do you do something like that?
Yes. So I treat infection when I can see infection or if we suspect infection. So you mentioned leg ulcers. A leg ulcer is a problem because it makes your body it makes the inside of your body exposed to the outside world. Because it's a wound, infection can come inside that wound and cause more problems. So part of the care of leg ulcer is preventing infection. I don't always give an antibiotic the entire time, but if I see that the ulcer has become infected, we'll give some. There's also topical antibiotic, the ointments, those ointments. You can also do that for the leg ulcer. And then I just wanted to make sure, I think maybe Mr. Iodiji has something to add.
Kabiru?
Kabir, do you want to add something to that? On leg ulcers.
What I can say on leg ulcer is I want to ask her a question. Actually, I want to ask her what how do I put it? What stage can a leg ulcer be, or how can a leg ulcer look before an antibiotic can be prescribed?
Okay, great question. So for anybody who has suffered with a leg ulcer, first of all, it's very painful, it's very frustrating. Leg ulcers take several days, sometimes weeks to heal. And so at times, the care that you give to the leg ulcer involves that topical antibiotic, that ointment, because you want to try to keep it as clean as possible and as free of infection as possible. But the moment we see pus, the white drainage or yellow drainage, and the moment you start having fevers, we know you might need antibiotics to take by mouth or by IV as well. So most times we stay with the topical, the ointment, but as soon as we see that it's invaded into your body with fever, or you're seeing the white and yellow drainage, we'll give you some antibiotics to take by mouth or by the IV or injection.
Okay.
So your doctor can help you with that.
The reason why, the reason why I'm asking you, right?
Yes, you can go ahead.
The reason why I'm actually asking this question is I've been battling with leg ulcer for close to 11 years. I've taken several antibiotics, which I don't want to start mentioning it because of advertisements. So I noticed that after a long while, it goes and comes back again. What used to make it occur? What brings the reoccurrence of leg ulcer after taking a lot of antibiotics?
Antibiotics.
Uh, Again, I'm so
Again,
sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, I'm so sorry to hear what you've suffered through. That is, again, very, very painful. And I don't think people can really imagine it unless they,
Go
underwent through
through
the same thing.
it.
So you are an example of how the antibiotic world and the treatment world can sometimes have a disconnect. I don't know all the treatment plans that you went through, but one of the things we found with ulcers is you sometimes need a surgeon to clean the area well, like really clean it really well. And not, I know in Nigeria, sometimes you may not have that type of surgeon to really, get in there. Sometimes you might have it like plastic surgery, orthopedic surgery, those type of surgeons. I've seen that the ones that get the deep cleaning from that type of surgeon, it tends to heal better. And then you kind of maintain the care and you watch it to see if the infection has calmed down. Because you took so many antibiotics, what happens is your doctors probably kept on changing it to a stronger one every time. Like, oh, this one didn't work. Okay, let's give you the stronger one. And so, depending on the bug, the bacteria that's causing it, it can be very complicated. So, one question you can ask your doctor: do they know the name of the bug that's causing your infection? And do they know which antibiotics can target that specific bacteria? And then if you really have had it for 11 years, it might be worth discussing whether you need a low dose of antibiotics, even on the days when you feel good. So those are some things to consider. I will get with the Miss Ono and Mr. Oyelami. I'll get with them and try to send you some links that may help you. Because I will also admit, because I take care of children, I don't see as many leg ulcers as the adult doctors do. But I do have some advice that other doctors have given me that I'll try to share with you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Kabir, so back to you. Are you okay with it? You understand?
But Kabir,
I'm listening.
Okay. Had there be a time where you decided to take
had there be a
antibiotics
time where
without a
you
doctor's
decided to take
prescription?
antibiotics without a prescription?
Because Lagos, before you get to take any antibiotics, you have to do what is called wound swab MCS to be able to prescribe the right antibiotics to probably cure the bacteria which is causing the inability of healing of the leg ulcer. So I don't just prescribe on my own without doctor's prescription.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
he is
he is.
he is a role model. Mr. Ayodeji is a role model because that is exactly what you're supposed to do. You want to know the name of the bacteria before you just take the medicine anyhow, because you might be teaching the bacteria to become smarter and become resistant. So that is very good that you do those things.
But Kabir, have you had situations where you feel like, let me just continue using this antibiotic since it's probably your body just gets used to it? Have you had issues like that?
Mm, There was a time I used one antibiotics. Like I was told to use it for 14 days. So I didn't see the work immediately. So I had to get extra 14 days to see if it can actually help me. But although it worked. But I was told I have taken kind of overdose. I have overdosed it. I should have stopped for the 14 days and wait to see the infection.
Okay. Dr. Titilope,
Okay.
I
Dr.
want to ask the
Titilope,
question.
I want to ask the
Is it
question.
advisable
Advice
for
table.
someone to take anti-malaria and antibiotics at the same time?
If you have two infections, yes. So if you know you have malaria, and let's say you also have pneumonia, some pneumonia, like acute chest syndrome, you may need to take the two. One, I'll give you an example. There was a young lady who had just come from Nigeria and she had malaria. And because she was having fever, we didn't know whether it was malaria or pneumonia or what. So we were first giving her everything. But when we saw that it was just malaria, we then took away the other medicines. But until that moment, until you know if you're fighting just malaria or is this also a bacteria, sometimes you may need to get antibiotic plus anti-malarial. But most times fever is caused by one thing. And, again, if it's malaria, it's okay. Give the malarial medicine, anti-malarial. But if it's not malaria parasite, then look for the bacteria and give an antibiotic instead.
Dr. Titi, for children who live with sickle cell, are there some common infections they can also fall into that may require them to take antibiotics?
Yes. So great question. So I mentioned the spleen earlier. Any
Yeah.
bacteria that the spleen is supposed to kill, those are the bacteria that you need to be aware of. The most
Mm.
famous ones are Streptococcus pneumoniae or strep. Some people say streptococcus. And then the other one is salmonella. I don't know if you've heard of salmonella, but salmonella is also very dangerous for sickle cell. Um, and then thankfully, many of our immunization
Great.
recommendations for
Mm.
children, it covers
Mm.
many of these other bacteria. So Haemophilus, influenza, there's a long list, but
Yeah.
thankfully the vaccines can help, but sometimes you
Mm.
need to use antibiotics.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
So that would bring me to a question about newborn screening, which I know that you are an expert in. So, how does that help us better manage sickle cell? Now,
I
we
love
don't
that.
currently have that policy in Nigeria, but for you that have that policy, how has it better helped you manage sickle cell in children and then as they take it over to adulthood?
This is one of my favorite questions.
Mm.
uh, you are hitting the nail on the head about what does it take to save lives of people who have sickle cell disease, one, and also what does it take to improve or prevent bad things happening to people with sickle cell disease. Um, I mentioned about Kabir and myself. I don't know him, but just because I know he's an adult, I know his childhood was not an easy childhood with sickle cell disease.
Mm.
And in today's world, the story of what you're saying, the story of the Western world doing newborn screening is relatively new. So in America, they started doing newborn screening state by state as early as the 1970s. However, not every state added it on the same time. The last state added it maybe 2003, 2006. So you can see there's a big gap. So as of 2006, all 50 states of the United States have been doing newborn screening. So if you were born before the age that they started, you would not have participated. And in my state, Texas, they started 1983. So all that being said is back to your question, your excellent question. Why would newborn screening even be important? Well, if I can stop a child from from dying from an infection before they turn to adulthood, that is worth its weight in gold. What was happening in America at that time was that if you were 5 or under, you would almost certainly die of infection before you reach adulthood. So the sickle cell will not even be the thing that causes your death. It would be infection. Infection. So just by starting the penicillin and the vaccines properly at that young age, prevented infection. And now 90% plus of children with sickle cell disease make it to adulthood. That is not the case in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa. But that we can change the story. We can change the story in Nigeria. We can change the story in other countries as well. But it took time. It took time. And so the other importance about newborn screening, if I don't know my baby has sickle cell disease, I won't pay attention to fever the same way I do with my other children. You know, fever sometimes, oh, the child has fever, they're still playing, they're okay. But if you have sickle cell, I'll be more cautious with you with fever. And two, I will understand, why is my child crying so much? I've given them food, I've changed them. Why are they still crying? And I would understand that a pain crisis is a potential reality. And then I can also prevent stroke from happening if I know early enough that my child has sickle cell disease. But if I don't know, my child can present for the first time with stroke or with infection or with pain without me even preventing it at all. So the value of newborn screening is that I can prevent bad things from happening to a child that has a chronic disease. I want us to change. All of us want the same thing. We want to change our understanding of sickle cell, right? In Nigeria, it's a curse. It's a death sentence. It's, so many negative things. But at heart, sickle cell is a chronic disease, just like diabetes, just like asthma, just like hypertension. A chronic disease can be managed and complications can be prevented with good care. But unfortunately, we don't have that opportunity. Even in America, we're still fighting for better care for people with sickle cell disease. But newborn screening can help the process. It's a gate opener. It's a gate opener to help us start achieving better quality care. Because I don't want a child to say, I'm going to have a leg ulcer when I'm Mr. Ayodeji's age. You want to prevent that before it even has a problem,
Yes.
I look at myself, I look at Mr. Ayodeji, I look at your lovely director, Ms. Toyin, all of the people these beautiful people that have sickle cell disease. And I see us as miracles. Somehow we escaped the tragedy that some of our family members did not escape. I have loved ones that have passed away from sickle cell disease. And I don't want that to be the story for sickle cell. So newborn screening might be complicated, but it's worth its weight in gold. And I know I've just talked for a long time, but I'll say one more thing. It doesn't have to be like America. It's okay. I know Nigeria is Nigeria. It's okay. We know ourselves, right? It's okay. What is the way we can do it the Nigerian way that makes it achievable? We can get creative and think of the right way to do it. Maybe we should pair it not at newborn. Maybe we should pair it with the vaccines, because I know all Nigerian families get their children vaccinated. So maybe that's when you should pair the first screen with the first vaccine. That would be early enough to save lives too. In America, they do it as soon as the baby is born. But what can happen is that you may lose track of that baby, right? They may go away and it's hard to find. In Nigeria, that'll be very difficult. So anyway, those are just some, I can talk forever about this because it's very important to me. It's very important.
Okay.
I feel like I should just carry you from Texas and bring you to come and talk to Nigeria Senate.
I will come. I will. I will
No,
tell you. I will tell you that there are several advocates in Nigeria that are doing excellent work. I've been impressed to see some of the changes. It gives me hope. It gives me hope about the future, because I sometimes wonder, wow, how can we solve? How can we help Nigeria and sickle cell? But not all hope is lost. I am happy to be part of the bigger voice, the bigger team. But I know I'm not the only one. I know that you have several champions doing the work, and I applaud those people. I have highest level of respect for even this show. This show is bringing awareness in a way that we've never really had before. When I lived in Texas, I also lived in Nigeria. I was born in Lagos. I know I don't sound like it, but I was born in Lagos and I was raised in Ogobosho. Ogobosho, and my Yoruba is horrible.
Really?
Ogobosho,
Wow,
but yes,
interesting.
however, I had the experience of seeing sickle cell care in Nigeria as a child in Ogomosho, as well as seeing sickle cell care as I grew up in America. And so comparing the two, both of them need work. Both of them they're not at A level at all, even America. We've made improvements in America, but we can do better. For Nigeria and other countries like Nigeria, there's also room to grow. But this is like seeing this show, being part of this show, it gives me so much joy that we are spreading awareness like this. It's just impressive. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. So, Kabiru,
Awesome.
let me come back to you. Because of your
Awesome.
leg ulcer, do you keep moving from one antibiotics to another?
Yes, actually. Although when it first started, I never knew it was Lagos. Not until after I got to Sickle Cell Foundation Nigeria and did series of tests and finally knew that okay, this is Lagos. This is how it's gonna be treated. Frequent dressing and every other thing. But the antibiotics I do take is not that I prescribe myself, said before. I take it based on doctor's prescription. But it's because the doctor said okay, we have used this for like 2 or 3 months ago, and
Mm.
we've not seen improvement. Okay, you know what? Let's do another one swap MCS to see if there can be more improvement. Then we'll try it, and probably some of them have worked actually because there have been some times that the Legos have healed finally. But I am more concerned about the reoccurrence of the ulcer. So that's the reason why I keep on taking more and more antibiotics whenever it comes back.
Well, Kabir, every time I see you as a survivor. I see you as a strong. Wow, because I know what Legosa is. I have also been through Lagos and thank God I've overcome it. But I know it's not funny. It's not funny at all. Legosa is not funny. So every time I see Kabir, I'm always like, wow, wow, these are warriors. These are the OGs. Uh, someone is saying in our comment section, Larry, cool face, said, I think it's high time for the sickle cell community to have a representative in the legislature, both at state and at national level. Dr. Titi, are
Amen.
you looking? Can we bring you? No, don't worry. Me, I'm the chairman of my local government. Can I bring you to Nigeria to come and become that representative?
Uh, Amen to Mr. Larry's comment. And I feel like we should nominate you. I think you're what. um, trust me, I will come if people are really serious. I was always questioning. We read lots of stories of Nigeria. It makes us sad how painfully you know, frustrating everything is. And I see us as we're optimistic that things can get better, but yet sometimes it's hard to see how to do it. And, it just takes those brave steps. So I think this is a very intelligent comment. We need to really consider the more people with sickle cell in every space of the community. I'm seeing doctors, I'm seeing lawyers, I'm seeing hopefully politicians, but then also any kind of work of life. When they're seeing us in the sectors that matter, I think that will continue to help. So I want a sickle cell champion on the legislator, and I will humbly stand by stand by anybody. If
Don't
people
worry, we
don't
are
make fun
getting
of the
there.
way I talk, I'll be fine.
Don't worry,
Okay.
we are getting there. There's
Titi,
a
let me.
question here.
Okay.
Tuto Adeni Bagbe Adetola. Is there any food a sickle cell child should avoid?
Um, so the answer is more good nutrition is good for everybody, especially if you have sickle cell disease. So, what is good nutrition? That is a balanced diet. And thankfully, the traditional Nigerian diet is a good diet. It has vegetables, lots of green vegetables, it has tomatoes, it has meat, it has carbohydrates. Now that we're becoming more Americanized, I'm seeing people go to Mr. Big and all this type of stuff, tantalizer. Be careful with some of the junk food, but
Yeah.
really giving your child good, healthy food is the most important thing. I wouldn't say avoid food, just moderation. It's okay to have cake for birthday. It's okay to have sweets, but just moderation. Don't go too overboard with that. But I think the more good nutrition you give your child, the better chance they have to be growing healthy. I know all of us know the importance of folic acid. So green
Yeah.
vegetables, you do all of that. It has tons of folic acid in it. So those are the types of stuff that can help a child with sickle cell.
Okay. Kabiru, how
You don't
often
hear
do
my
you use
people.
your antibiotics? Kabiru, can you hear me?
Kabir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
How often do you use your
How often do
antibiotics?
you use your antibiotics?
Like I said, it depends on what the doctor says. Presently, I'm to take one for 3 weeks, BD, that's morning and evening for 3 weeks. I don't want to mention the name because of advertisement. So it depends on the doctor's prescription.
Dr. Titi, let me quickly
Dr.
ask
Titi,
a
let me quickly
question.
ask a question.
How long do you think someone should be on penicillin for? Someone using penicillin, how long do you think the person should be on it?
So if it's for prevention and if it's for young children with sickle cell disease, only between the age 0 to 5 years old. However, sometimes you may need penicillin longer. If you ever had an invasive infection, so one of those infections that entered the bloodstream and almost caused death, those people, it's better to just keep them on penicillin for a long time because you don't want them to ever experience that again. And their bodies are already susceptible. Um, if you're using antibiotics for treatment like pneumonia, acute chest syndrome, leg ulcer, each infection has a determined time of healing. So, for instance, pneumonia needs 7 to 10 days of antibiotics. Bone infections need 21 to sometimes even longer, 21 days, 3 weeks to 6 weeks sometimes. Leg ulcers, as Kabir mentioned, it can be complicated because depending on how severe the infection is, you may need the antibiotics for a longer window. So most antibiotics range between 7 to 14 days, but sometimes for a bone infection or something very severe, you may need longer treatment.
Dr. Titi, oh, I would like to. This question is like a personal question, career related actually. We are having issues with the death of doctors who want to specialize in hematology. As in, a lot more doctors who want to specialize in hematology, and seeing a young person like you go into hematology, it makes me want to ask this question: what can we do? How can we get more people into hematology?
Um, that is another wonderful question. I am actually in December, I'm actually going to give a talk about why I became a hematologist to a group of young doctors. So hopefully
Okay.
they might be inspired. I think reaching people before they make their career decisions. So if you are talking to somebody in university level or medical school level, they have not yet chose the type of consultant they will be. So if they meet people who are working in the field and they show them the joy of working with patients with sickle cell disease, they fall in love with it early and then it becomes their desire. So our hope is that if I show you why I love taking care of children with sickle cell disease, you'll also fall in love with sickle cell disease. And I try to show you the truth and the beauty of sickle cell disease. What happens is that people see sickle cell as ugly. Oh, there only no pain. Oh, they all this type of stuff. But I show them that no, these are people with value, beautiful lives, creative, intelligent humans who unfortunately have a chronic disease that can cause intense suffering. And it's our job as doctors to alleviate suffering. And that looks in different ways. For my personal life, I've been able to become an advocate and a doctor. Other people are researchers where they're doing the curative therapy in the lab, trying to figure out how to cure sickle cell. And others have found ways to prevent stroke, help with transplant, genetic gene therapy. So there's so many ways to treat sickle cell disease. I also think it's a fascinating disease. It's one that makes people become alive in their brain. So I think finding people when they're young, showing them good role models of people who, and I have a list of role models that I follow myself that are good people to show them. But you can be surprised how introductions at a young age can help with their future choice. So I'm also trying to invest in getting more hematologists for the future, so that we have compassionate doctors who really understand sickle cell disease to help.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fashkwe, for that answer. Now, there's another question here coming from our audience. Toby Olaiton by name is said, is there a way probiotics can help sickle cell disorder?
So that's a interesting question. So I will refer you to the work of Dr. Amanda Brandow. I can write her name in the chat if that makes it easier. She actually does studies on the microbiome and sickle cell disease. And the microbiome is inside our intestinal system. We have good bacteria, we have bad bacteria, but the good bacteria helps us with our digestion, and it actually is important for us to be healthy. Probiotics are under the example of good bacteria. They help with digestion, they help with food. I can't answer the question with a yes or a no because we don't have studies that give us a definitive answer. But I will say that if somebody is taking antibiotics for a long time, probiotics can help them maintain the balance in their digestive tract. And I hope studies from people like Dr. Amanda Brandow will help us understand more good bacteria and helping sickle cell disease. So that's a very important question.
Okay. Kabir, had there been a time where you feel a particular antibiotic stopped working for you? Have you had any situation
Have you
like
had
that?
any situation like that?
Yes, yes, yes. I think Was it last year? Last year it happened, which when I took one antibiotics, I've forgotten the name actually. I took it for like 14 days. When I started it, it was like I was seeing the effects on the legs. But as I was going on with it, I noticed that it just stopped. Like the ulcer was not like it was not improving, neither was it going back. It was just stagnant. So I was told to stop the antibiotics. Actually.
Interesting. Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Kabir, for someone who is living with sickle leg ulcer like you, are there some words of caution you like to share or some words of advice that you like to talk to people about? You are obviously living with this and it's over 11 years, like you said. Are there some words of advice you like to give or words of caution as per using antibiotics?
Don't have to take antibiotics without doctor's prescription. You are not a doctor. You don't have a right to prescribe antibiotics yourself. You don't have a right to take anything, any drug, any antibiotics without doctor's prescription to avoid organ damage, to avoid uh, any infection, to avoid building up another infection on yourself. So that's what I would say. And also, I also want to advise them that leg ulcer is no limitation. Sickle cell generally is no limitation. You can still strive, you can still hustle. You are a living human being, you are a living being. So
Mm.
don't let sickle cell or leg ulcer limit you. Don't let it pull you back to where you are supposed to be in life. Thank you.
Thank you, Kabiru.
Thank you,
I feel
Kabiru. I feel
happy that I got to hear
happy
those
that
words from you. So, Dr. Titi, can you please give us the last word?
Oh goodness. I feel like Kabir said it so beautifully. Sickle cell does not have to limit you. And it is challenging, but you have people who also understand your pain.
Yeah.
And we're there for you. This group, I'm seeing in the chat, somebody wants to know more about this group. This group is very important to help people feel like they're not alone. So, yes, I want to encourage people to not be by themselves, but to look for community and remember that you can live without these limitations. You are still a person of value, and your disease does not define you.
Thank you, Dr. Titi. We're really
Your
glad that
disease does not define you. I like that statement. Your disease does not define you. Bolarin Washegun, you said this is quite revealing. I'm hearing about this organization for the first time. Whoa, we've been here for 13 years. Shegun, don't sit on this. Follow us on social media at Sami Update. Our website is www.sicklecelladvocacy.org. Follow us, and we have a lot of advocacy activities on the National Assembly and everywhere. So we are on this. So please follow us and be a part of what we do. You don't have to live with sickle cell to be a part of what we do. In fact, we want people who don't live with sickle cell to be our advocates because it makes the world more enjoyable for us when we see people like you support us. Thank you very much, Dr. Titi Fashikwe. You are an interviewer's delight, and I'm sure I'm going to bring you back again for Touch Cell Online.
thank you, Kabiru.
Thank you all so much. This was a pleasure. It was an honor to meet Mr. Kabir and the both of you. And I also want to know, so you're on Facebook, and what are you on Twitter, or what other types of social
On
media?
Facebook, Instagram.
Yes, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, But because of the ban in Nigeria right now, we are not on Twitter, so don't worry. So, but we are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, Sammy Update Dash TV, and we have our website, sicklecelladvocacy.org. So that's where
Perfect.
we are at.
I will add this. I will be looking out for all the options. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So we so good to have you, man. So good to have you. And wow, 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 Debbie. I think this has been a great show, right?
Yes, I learned a lot, and I think it's a good thing that they were both able to share their experience. Thank you, Kabiru, for opening up. Really appreciate, and I'm sure people out there might have learned a thing or two from you. Thank you.
Hmm. Okay, this show touch a cell online with Tony and the gang. We are gradually rounding up this season. Our next event will be on the 27th of November when we are going to have some other guests and we are going to have our host. And then we are going to have a big bash by December. That's going to be our last event for the
Yeah.
season. The next time you are going to see us will be in 2022. So that's how it has been so far for Touch Cell Online. Wow. This show has been brought to you by the Sickle Cell Advocacy and Management Initiative. We want to say thank you to our boss. Oh, Larry Kufield, like we say, when next are you bringing the good dog back? No worry, we'll bring him when we are talking about newborn
Bring that
screening.
very
We don't want
soon.
to scatter this place. All right, thank you, Kabir. Thank you, Dr. Titi. Thank you, Deb. It's good to anchor this show with you. You are just so beautiful like that.
This is a production of Sickle Cell Advocacy and Management Initiative. You can follow us on all our social media handles. On Facebook, it's Sammy Updates. On Twitter, it's Sammy Update. But for now, because of the ban, we're not using it. You can also follow us on Instagram at Sammy Update. On YouTube, it's Sammy Update TV. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely evening and enjoy your weekend. Thank you.